Good morning, good afternoon, good night, everyone. Hope you're all having a great day. This is another great interview happening at the Strategy Factory, and I'm here today with Mr. Robert Quintero. Mr. Robert, how are you and where are you? I think is the most important question since this is a very international project.
Right. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Lucas. I'm in Southern California in a town called San Gabriel, but yeah, the sun is definitely shining brightly today.
That's awesome. Welcome, Robert. It's great to have you here. And I think what everyone will want to know first is obviously who is Robert Quintero and what does Robert Quintero do at 3M, which is where you work?
Yeah. So I am currently a director of user experience for our safety and industrial business group at 3M. I'm a native Angelino. I'm from a very small town of Mexican immigrants here in Southern California called Paramount. And actually, even people who are from Los Angeles usually don't know where Paramount is. We are the neighbor of a very well-known town in Los Angeles called Compton. So unfortunately, we had all of the same gang violence growing up, but none of the rappers to really take advantage and give us some street cred. But yeah, I'm here to pump up the name of Paramount.
Yes, let's do it. But is there any connection between Paramount and Paramount, the movies, the Paramount Studios? No, nothing to do.
Very far away from Hollywood. Yeah, we have no claim to fame, unfortunately, like that. Yeah.
Okay, I will make sure that after today, there's really something to remember and something to take credit for.
Yeah, either that or I'm going to have to learn how to rap, and nobody wants that. Yeah.
Great, and that kind of really links to my follow-up question, Robert, which is there something, any story, anything about you that people need to know that you think is relevant for the rest of our conversation?
In terms of knowing something about me, I really ground myself in being very fortunate to always have had a creative career or be involved with the arts or design, even from a young age. When I was 16, I got my first job as a Disney Imagineer. So I began my career helping to make all of the theme parks that you know from Disney all across the world, which was a really great experience in terms of being able to travel and experience different cultures and learn from other people and teach other people the Disney way of doing things. And yeah, it was just a phenomenal experience that I got to have from, like I said, a very young age, and I think really shaped me into who I am today.
That's an amazing story. And what do you think? What do you think was kind of? I mean, I guess from the creative side there was a lot, but what else do you think you took from that big experience? I mean, you were involved in probably developing the most worldwide known theme parks and
Yeah.
what people love. There's so many. I have so many friends that are like addicted to Disney. What else did you take there that you used for the rest of your career?
You know, I think Disney just really goes to show the power of experience and how valuable that is and how much that crosses every single culture, right? The power of storytelling, the power of thinking of every part of the experience, and that quality and attention to detail and what that can do for you as a person experiencing it, how much feeling is imbued to value, you know, is you have to really focus on, you know, that experience to actually create memories, and that is possible with design. And that's something I definitely keep with me today.
That's really incredible. I wanna fast forward from obviously that experience that you had at Disney, and I wanna go to 3M for a bit. And 3M, from my vision and from what I've learned throughout the years, has always been regarded as a highly innovative company. They were, if not the inventors, one of the first companies to get into this concept of the 70-20-10, I think it is. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Why do you think 3M had the chance or has been so innovative, being a, let's call it a offline company, not in this new techie world where everyone tends to be innovative?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people know where what a lot of digitally native companies, where they took parts of their culture of innovation from. And one of those big things was from 3M with their 15% culture, right? Which is the allowance of employees, whatever their job description or title is, to have 15% of the time to do what they focus on, what they want to focus on, what they care about, what they think needs to be done rather than what they're being told to do. And I think one of the principles that supported that was one of the major icons of 3M as a president and leader, saying that we hire good people and then we get out of their way. And I think you hear that in the language from like Steve Jobs of, I'm going to hire good people and they're going to tell me what to do. I think that's kind of baked into who we are as a company, as an organization. So you take that ability to feel like you have a mandate to do what you think needs to be done, not just what they're telling you to do. And then you take the diversity that we have as an organization, in that we are in, we have 4 large business groups, and they say you're never farther away than like 3 feet from a 3M technology. We are in so many different industries and product segments, that you take that diversity, that learning across all of that, and we have something that we call uncommon connections, right? You take one thing that you're learning from over here, right? Something about a customer, something about a technology, something about a need, and then you're able to pluck that and you're able to put it over there and make those new uncommon connections to provide a whole different area of value that you normally couldn't before, right? If you did not know about that one random thing over here, you never would have had that aha moment of creativity in this other place. And that is beautiful. And I've seen that happen time and time again. So it's not just lore, it's not just a nice story you tell in the marketing materials. It's like, oh, because I was involved over here and now I'm over here, I'm able to give so much more. And I believe that just as a person, we're all valuable because of all of our shared experiences. And I think you're seeing that culture shift too, of recognizing that diversity and inclusion provides value to organizations. It's kind of baked into who 3M is. And that's just kind of like, wow, we had that from the get-go, and we understood the value of that from pretty much the beginning. That's pretty special.
Wow. That's really interesting. I was going to ask you, like, because there are many corporations nowadays that they have the pool tables and they have the cooking classes and they have the massage room, but people have to work so much that they never actually get to enjoy them. Maybe the first day, the first few days, and then they're off to work. So I think my question was, but I think you answered it. I'm just going to ask it anyways, is do people really have that 15% of their time to spend in whatever they want, or are they eaten up by the day to day?
I think it definitely ebbs and flows. And I have heard people say like, oh, it's really 115% time, but it just depends on where you're at. It's not a constant. But you definitely have to find those quiet moments, not only for yourself, but for the value of wherever you're working to make room for it. And it is encouraged. I definitely encourage it in my group, personally, for each person when they're trying to reach their goals of what they want to do. I try to make sure that there is enough time, not only for work-life balance, but work balance, I guess that would be.
That's great. And I mean, you've been at 3M for 8 years, if I'm not wrong now. What
8 years now.
What would you say has been the biggest changes, obviously before the pandemic, and then what did the pandemic kind of change that you think also will be a change that will stay for good? I know that you, from the first time that we talked, you said that you used to work in Minneapolis, you come back and forth. And obviously now, like every other company, you had to go somehow remote. What do you think, again, in the first year has changed, and in this last year and a half?
Right. The the first project that I managed for 3M that I was brought to the company to do was an app for our Post-it brand. And everyone knows the iconic Post-it brand, and I felt very blessed that I was joining to get to be associated with it. And I felt like I was designing for myself, right? Because I'm an avid Post-it user, as most designers are. But at that time, I was actually hired into the laboratory, like a literal laboratory with chemists. And my team, my development team, were chemists who knew like how to formulate the glue on the back of a Post-it, but nothing about making a digital product. So that, if you can imagine, that's when I joined. And in that 8 years, I've seen our digital competency grow and change to, whereas before I had to kind of shove people through the door of thinking of things in a digitally native way. Now they're demanding it. Now they're pulling me through. Now they're right there lockstep with me in terms of saying, we see a value here. We understand that the future is of how we work is in the digital space, which leads me to the other part of your question about how the pandemic changed things. You know, again, we're definitely having to advocate for digital products and services and the value that it brings to the organization, and finding how, you know, what is next in our digital future. The pandemic pushed everyone who was a holdout of understanding, like, is digital really a thing for us? There is now removed all questions of doubt in that their whole lives had to be switched to digital. And a lot of the people who were maybe more reserved about it were suddenly saying, oh, okay, I get it now. I understand now. And not only that, but I understand what design is useful for as a strategy in accomplishing product development in an environment like this. And if you think about how a designer behaves, what are the principles, how we're trained, and what is our process that we bring to the table, it's almost tailor-made for surviving and thriving in the pandemic, right? And needing to deal with hard constraints and circumstances, and taking good stock of it and saying, okay, given these inputs, let's design a way out. Let's design a way forward. Let's do this together. Let's collaborate. So I hate saying that I'm thankful in a lot of ways for the pandemic, but it really brought a lot of people to the table. It really had a lot of people reaching out saying, how can I utilize your team's skill sets in what we do and how we do it to raise our outcomes, you know, to really change the way we're doing things, because this is the way you guys have always been living. And now we realize we have to match that. We have to join that.
That is a really interesting story, because I mean, I find that the pandemic, obviously, it was a huge, or it's being a huge tragedy, and a terrible thing for many different reasons, and for many people, for many families. But it has bring to business, to relationships, to the idea of connecting, a whole new way of just connecting and doing things. So it really kind of brought up to speed a lot of things that were maybe 15, 20 years behind, like the education system, which is now coming forward and using technology at its full potential. So I definitely think there's a lot of things that came out of that. And I mean, I'm looking at your whatever's on the back of you, and there's a thing there that says the new normal. Did you get that during the pandemic, or is that something that you had already?
No, I definitely didn't have any kind of foresight in getting that before the pandemic, but okay. Yeah, I kind of keep that there. And when I see myself on screen, I think, okay, this is the new normal, and we're getting through this. We are going to get through this together. I'm going to get through it with whoever's on the screen with me right now. We are making the new normal together.
It's a nice one. It's a nice one, I should say. And then I want to kind of double click into this idea of 3M kind of coming from a traditional manufacturing company to what you're saying now, it's more of a tech company. You were brought in, as you said, for a first huge project, a very interesting project of transforming the most iconic product of the company into an app. So I want to know a little bit more about that experience. I mean, you said that you were surrounded by chemists, which I imagine was very, very strange in the first few days. But then as that went through, how did that develop? And how do you think, or what do you think that particular project then affected what came after in this culture or this idea of 3M of going tech?
Yeah, I think and I want to make sure I break this up the right way, because it really affected every part of work that you could think of, from the team structures, the competency, education, the politics of getting work done, and also the business models, right? And so it really educated all of us in every single discipline within the company, I would say. So I think the first behavior you have to have if you're trying to make a change or help somebody on their journey is really understanding the baseline of where somebody is at. Because I think it's very easy for people to come in and make a lot of assumptions, especially if you come from a digitally native company prior or that type of background. You just make a lot of assumptions of what people understand to be true, right? The givens. And you really have to take a step back and say, I'm assuming way too many things. And the typical designer thing of saying, I am not my user. So let me first apply my methodologies, my process, my human-centeredness to the people I work with, and where I'm trying to get work done, versus, okay, I'll just assume they're on board with me about what is things I take for granted. And then we go try to make this or that, right? And release it in this way. So it really is about helping people understand what competencies are needed, helping understand what kind of support is needed for a program, educating them at, okay, software is different than product development, typical hardware product development or material product development in X, Y, and Z ways, from the type of funding it needs, or the type of always on evergreen cash and resource infusion, all these types of things that have to be the groundwork while you're actually trying to build something as well. And that first experience was really about getting buy-in from our leadership, because they just were saying, and we're a publicly traded company, they're looking at quarterly results. And so they're saying, when are we going to have money based on this? And the first step was kind of saying, let's take a time out on the expectations here. Is this product about your brand and pushing your brand into the future so we can learn and understand how we're going to make money in the future? Or is this about, getting X amount and what those expectations should be for that amount near in? And luckily, I think we made enough progress with our leadership to say, this in the Post-it app, this is really about pushing our brand forward into our digital future, so that when we find out what can make us money in the digital space, we have permission to still be there. The Post-it name is still relevant. The brand is still what people understand, and it has the same confidence and quality behind it that people expect from our products, right? Yeah. So that was definitely the first step. After that, though, when I joined our corporate research software lab, it was really about helping all of these other material science groups find why digital should even be valuable to them, right? I'd get these guys that would come in, these teams that would come in, and they say, hey, Robert, I make roofing granules and my leadership is telling me I need to have an app. I don't know why the heck I need an app, but could you help me? And actually, to their surprise, I would say, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I want to know so many things about my roof. I would love to work with you. I would love to help you there, because really, the digital aspect is just a tool. It's just something that I help excavate, whatever that black box of technology that you have is, what are the things that people find valuable about that? And if I could uncover that, if I could unlock that box and show it to you, you would say, now that is more valuable to me.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like, I want to know so many things about my roof, if there was a weather event, is there a leak, how much more age do I have, all these different types of things. And so then the conversation always changes to, oh, okay, I shouldn't be nervous or think I need to build an app. I should just be asking what digital technology can do to make my products that I'm already making, my material sciences, more valuable. And when you speak to it in that way, people get behind it. They understand that. And that helps them be more user-centered as well, rather than just technology focused.
It's incredible because what I kept thinking is you left Disney for kids and you joined Disney for the elder. You were the user for this sort of products, for these sort of apps. So that's incredible. And was it hard to get that buy-in from the leadership team, or do you think it was? I mean, obviously they brought you in, so I guess they had something in mind. It was maybe just about shifting that not so little idea of trying to get profit ASAP to think about these as the leap into the future. How hard was that? And what were your strategies? It was just about being open and sharing kind of what you really thought, or it was more about having to build another team with you that supported this idea of this is the leap into the future. We cannot push this to bring results now.
Yeah. Well, the work continues. So I'm not going to pretend as if I've solved the solved the problem yet, or figured out exactly what works. But I have had a very acknowledged strategy that our team definitely is following right now in terms of how we show the value of the transition to digital. And I think 3M is based in solving customer problems. That is our history, right? That's how masking tape was developed. That's how so many of our technology platforms were made. It's been based on customer observations and then pairing that with our technology prowess to then enable those new solutions. And we're doing the exact same thing. It's just now in a digital platform, right? In a digital way. And so if we can go back to the culture of what we're very good at, but now expand that from I make one thing and I sell one thing to now I am approaching it as a service, as an ecosystem, as maybe now instead of saying I'm selling you this one thing that does something really amazing, to now looking more at what the outcomes could be, right? I can improve productivity by X amount. I can reduce safety incidents by X amount. Those are the things that are going to really drive the value in the future, right? That's what gets everybody on board. And that's I think the bets that 3M is taking and the investments that they're making in looking into the future, because that's really how we're going to grow the company.
That's great. That's great. And I'm one of the kind of the things that came to mind is I'm a big startup enthusiast, and obviously 3M is a giant publicly traded company that has been developing hardware for decades. And now you're jumping into this tech world, or you've been doing so for 8+ years. I guess you have a lot of resources to invest in that, which is a big advantage. But how do you compete in terms of tech with startups that are way more flexible, that they have way less to lose, and they can be more bold because they don't have to deliver quarter-on-quarter results?
Yeah, I definitely a lot of times envy that culture that lets you be more agile. I think the funny thing is a lot of times I feel like our team is a startup within within a large behemoth. But I frequently remind our team about what we do have at our advantage, right? One, we're a global company. So our reach is expansive and our ability to get to our customers and understand our customers is expansive. we do have those resources to be able to go out and learn directly from our customers. But I would say, bar none, the thing that 3M has that those startups do not is the thing I already mentioned, which is brand. When you say the 3M brand to any of the industries that we go to, in construction, in mining, in any of these other industrial places, the 3M brand carries with it so much confidence, and it's built it's built to give permission and understanding and instant respect that gives us a great foot in the door. And I think that's been no more prevalent than during the pandemic, when everybody wants a 3M respirator, right?
Yeah.
You can go out and get any other brand of respirator, but if you have a 3M branded legitimate respirator, that's what people trust. And having our customers' trust built on quality of our brand, that is something that a startup would kill for. Having instant access to a market is something a startup would kill for. And so we definitely try to put our weight on those muscles that have already been built, since we know, like, yes, it's going to take longer for us to shift priorities, or to get this prioritized, or get something launched, or it's going to be a lot more invasive to try to get support for something. And it's a lot of structural things to try to overcome to be able to launch and manage a project successfully. But definitely don't forget what are all the amazing things that you have at your disposal being at a huge corporation like 3M.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great, and it makes total sense. And I can definitely think of the upsides and the downsides, obviously, of being that big. When we first talked, also, you talked about this challenge, or let's call it this challenge of building a team, a very talented team of designers and of tech people that need to adjust to this reality of being a huge corporation, that they are not constantly pushing new software, they're not being challenged at their prime of their careers. What has been your strategy and 3M strategy to create that environment to foster people to join and then to stay?
Yeah, I don't have to have a hard sell if I were to be hiring chemical engineers into 3M. It's an understood brand, it's an understood environment, it's an understood life of what that entails, to the top of those types of resources. But within software, as we're just starting out our journey into what that will look like from a product standpoint, I have to be very careful about how I bring people into our team and then how I grow people afterwards. The challenges for me is, it is really difficult for me to hire junior designers. I would love to hire junior designers and then grow them in their career starting at 3M. But if you look at what a junior designer is trying to do, they're trying to get really good at their craft. They're trying to still build their portfolio, and they're looking for how to build their resume so that they can keep on working at all the really cool places. That is in direct kind of that's a direct challenge to what I need our team to do right now. I always tell my team that 90% of their work is trying to get to the point of doing the 10% of the work of a designer. So that is educating our stakeholders, that is helping them understand not only what we do and how we do it, but a lot of times even what their job is supposed to be as a product manager or a product owner within a digital space. We're still hiring a lot of people that we work with that come from that background as well, rather than just taking our existing resources and trying to turn them into the digital workforce of the future, right? So that's part of the challenge, is just helping the teams that we work with to understand how to do digital product development in the first place. And that takes a lot out of a designer when you would rather just sit down, understand what the requirements are, or go do the research and have everybody be on board, locked arm together, and understand how to do things. So I really have to look for different skill sets. You know, I have to look for people who are really amazing storytellers, who can tell you the value of, you know, doing human-centered design in the way that we're used to doing it, into the value of research, the value of qualitatively doing observational work, going to your customer, really understanding and empathizing with what their day looks like and what they're having to deal with, and understanding how we need to interject a new solution into the existing world that they have, and how complex that can be with a digital program versus just I made, you know, a new sandpaper that's better than every other sandpaper. Use this one instead, you know, which has its own challenges, believe me. But now I'm not only going to give you the sandpaper, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do the process of using it. And I'm going to be able to monitor your effectiveness and show you what the outcomes can be if you did X, Y, and Z differently, or how to make sure that you're improving your outcomes. That takes a whole other level of infrastructure and support.
Great. I have two different questions that came to mind after this. And one of it is, what percentage of what you guys build is for internal use? And how much is for us, final end users, to use? And what do you enjoy the most? Is it creating things for the internal stakeholders of the company, or is it for end users?
Yeah. You don't have one without the other. And I think maybe that's what I was trying to say just previously, was that everything that we do for internal use is not like a formal internal tool, like, you know, like people use, you know, HR software, something like that, right? Everything that we do as an internal product is helping to get our stakeholders to prioritize, helping them look at where the gaps are in their service offerings, helping our stakeholders empathize with who they're designing for and what those personas are and how they differ, right? And how our products are now used differently by each one of those. So those internal products always end up looking like workshops, which are always a lot of fun. They've actually gotten even more effective during the pandemic. I thought it was going to be a real big hit, but doing everything remotely, I think, changes the engagement model. And it's actually been a real shot in the arm for the utilization and the effectiveness of doing those types of things. But we enjoy doing that quite a lot. That way, when we get to designing the product, the external product that our customers see, it is the right thing, right? Or it is solving the right problem, or it is a well thought out enough customer experience end to end that it's delighting people. So without that upfront work, our downstream work really, it suffers.
And the other one is, how do you prioritize? Coming from the tech world, you prioritize using very clear data of what your users use, what they don't use, and obviously the constant feedback that they give you of the things that they would love to have. How do you prioritize where to put your resources and what sort of tech to develop kind of every day?
Yeah. You know, like I said, being in the beginning of our journey of understanding of what digital technology enables, I think one of those big areas of education is getting to show people half of the value of digital technology is your ability to track things, is your ability to see what's working almost real time sometimes and what is not, to help you prioritize the roadmap, to help you see where to go next. But we've had to do that in very kind of guerrilla lo-fi ways that maybe digitally native companies would maybe scoff at or laugh at a little bit. But we do have to start very small with doing baseline surveys with our customers prior to launch, and then returning afterwards and getting some system usability scores and MPI and all the things that people are like, oh boy. But getting the space, getting the room to prioritize building in analytics is kind of the mountain that I'm trying to scale right now, because it's hard enough to get prioritized foundational user experience work and get them to prioritize the features that we want to build, let alone building in tracking of all of those things into the product as well. But that's definitely where we have to go, or where our current journey is on, and where we still have some ways to go. Now, in terms of internally how we're prioritizing, we work with about 7 different divisions, and our team services and partners with all 7 of those, right? Our design team is at the BG level, not at the division level. So we have to fiercely prioritize and look after every single program that we're asked to be involved with. And honestly, I kind of use it to my advantage a lot when maybe there's a partner who wants to skip what we think are very key steps in our process in the strategy of doing good work. We say, well, okay, we understand. And actually the analogy we always talk about is having fast food versus having a nutritionally balanced meal. Most people come to us wanting fast food. They're on the freeway, they have a destination to get to. They don't really care about eating so much at that point. They just know they need something in their belly, so they want to stop off very quickly and get back on the road as quickly as possible. And we use that opportunity to say, like, okay, I'll give you fries and a Coke right now, but you have to make an agreement with me later that you are going to stop for a full nutritionally balanced meal with vegetables, and that you will eventually eat your vegetables. Let's make the plan for the vegetables now, and I promise you I will give you this fries and a Coke, and you'll be happy you can get back on the road. But without that plan, I'm not going to give you anything. If that makes sense. Yeah.
It's a perfect analogy, and it makes total sense. And I think that obviously that can extrapolate to pretty much any other. It could be used for anything. And I love the idea of saying, look, you need a fast solution. I'll get you the fast solution, but first, let's talk about where we're going in the long term. So as soon as I give this to you, I can turn around and start working in what you're really going to be eating or using in the future. Robert, that's incredible. We're getting kind of to the end of our conversation, and I think we could talk forever. Before I ask you if there's anything else you want to share, or if do you think there's anything that I should have asked you that I didn't, I want to ask you, where do you see the industry and obviously 3M going in the next 10 years? Do you see a huge change in the balance between tech and hardware? Do you think that this mixed component of every single thing having a tech, every single hardware having a tech component that is going to kind of support it to make it even more powerful? Do you think we're going into that direction?
Yes, and I'm hopeful about it, but I don't think it's all going to be as obvious as maybe a lot of people think of when they think about technology enabling these things. But I do think it is going to be for the betterment here. And maybe I'll give you an example. So where I do a lot of work is in the industrial Internet of Things. Maybe you've heard the term Factory 4.0, where we're not only automating a lot of things, but we're connecting a lot of things. And I think, as humans, we're very fearful of technology taking over and taking our jobs. But I actually see it the opposite way, of technology enabling people to do more, people to do things in a safer way, and actually opening more opportunities. One of the programs that we work on is called Connected Safety for our personal safety division. And that is really about protecting people in a more trackable, more observable way. And if I can work on something that gives people confidence that they're being protected in some really horrible environments, you know, like for first responders, for people doing construction, for people in healthcare, if you can make it more visible to them that, you know, that at any given point they are being protected, if I can make it more visible to the people that are responsible for them that they are being protected, that's a pretty amazing thing to do with technology. And even something that hits home with me as a child of immigrants, most of the people doing a lot of these really dirty, nasty jobs, they are immigrants. And they are not only supporting themselves and their family immediately with them, they're supporting their families in other countries even, right? So if enabling a digital technology to make sure they know that they're being protected, that they're leaving that job in the same condition as when they showed up, that's amazing. But also, if connecting these things is helping people do more complex jobs that they normally would need more training for, but now because of digital technology, it is helping them have the ability to do that job safely, right, and efficiently, and be qualified for it, so they can make more money and improve their livelihood and their kids and their, you know, extended families. That's pretty awesome. That is the right use of technology. That is the right use of connecting all of these things, right? Yes, it's great that you could connect your crock pot to make sure that you don't burn down your house if you leave it on when you leave. But when it comes to a meaningful outcome of somebody's personal health, you can't beat that.
That is great. Robert, anything anything I should have asked you that I didn't, or anything else that you would like to share with us today?
Oh, I think we covered almost everything. We didn't get to talk about food, but that's okay, you know.
That's okay. That's for the next chapter, I promise.
That's for the
I think
next chapter.
I mean, I can think of thousands of more questions, but that will get us to round 2. Mr. Robert, thank you very much for your time today. It's been awesome. I appreciate it, and I wish you all the best. And I'll have to get that frame that says the new normal as well, and I want to have it too. Here, it's a blank it's a blank wall, so it'd be good. It'd fit pretty well.
Send me your address. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Lucas.
Thanks, man. See you.
All right, bye-bye.